Right, we're on air.
Did you have to say that? Welcome again to another podcast for Bowls Revolution. It's going to be a packed program today. That's because we have three people here to get into the shot. Apart from that, our guest, would you like to introduce him?
Yes, I'd like to introduce to you Bill McKimm, who is a member of TUIBC and was the treasurer of the Devon County Indoor Bowling Association from March 2023 to February 2024. So welcome, Bill. Welcome to our podcast.
Yeah. Now, obviously the subject of the podcast we've been putting out has been the revolution that we're trying to help along to assist bowls in the future. And the problem we have at the moment is whether or not the organisations that currently run bowls are fit to do it. Our guest today will help us. So, first of all, Bill, can I ask you why you thought it was a good idea to talk to us when we invited you to do so?
I just feel that the whole truth really wasn't discussed. It was basically the competition secretary, Mr. George Coxwell, not fulfilling his job as a competition secretary, misleading committee members and bowling clubs as to who was responsible, and I just wanted it brought out into the open, really.
Right, can we just, if we move to the end of that, you've been accused of bullying or cyberbullying. Now, I tried to look that up. There is no such legal definition, but there are other acts that might cover it. But why do you think they decided that that was a good handle to rest upon you for your duration of being the treasurer?
I think I was trying to expose George Coxwell's misleading statements, really. Exchanges I had with George Coxwell, who was competition secretary and county secretary, got a little bit heated, and he was clever in the sense that he switched from the accusation of not doing his job in a timely manner to accusing me of bullying him through emails, which was then termed as cyberbullying.
But all you were doing really was asking him to update a website on the results of competitions. Is that correct?
It was a simple request. The fact that some bowlers had come to me and asked me why competition results were not being updated, and George Coxwell, competition secretary, had turned around and said that the person responsible for updating them was a former website administrator and treasurer, David Butterworth, stating that he didn't like pestering because he was a busy man, and that if anybody wanted to know the next round opponents, they only had to ring him. He didn't say at any point that he'd been blocked from the website due to untimely sort of updates, and he was blocked.
Now, yeah, I can see that the things were obviously going wrong inside the Devon County Indoor Bowling Association, but the one thing that we can just go to specifics at the moment. Let's look at the honorariums. And now there's something you needed to say about them. Can we have a look and quote what exactly the honorariums were and what they are now, or
right.
what they were proposed to be now, or not even proposed?
George Coxwell has put forward not a proposition. He's put it. If you look on the website, he's actually stated that he's increasing capitation fees for the season 24-25, and also he's increased the allowances for each of the committee members.
What's he increased the fee from to?
He's increasing the president's, who received £700 last year,
To
up to £1,000 this year. He's increased his own county secretary position from 600 it was originally, I believe,
to 700.
and he will now receive £800. Each of the other committee members will receive an increase of £50, apart from the website administrator, who will be paid £50 per month on a rolling basis each month. Now, I wrote to George, or emailed George Coxwell, and put in objection to this, saying that the money actually was club money and not the DCIBA's to line their own pockets. It was to be used for the administration of leagues and competitions. Again, this was classed on my part as harassment and bullying.
We need to bear in mind here, don't we, that the fee has gone up, or the proposal, if there is a proposal, from $4.95 to $5.80.
That's the capitation
that's
fee
the capitation
now for
fee
the men.
For the men
For the
is
men.
what they're proposing that we put it up
And
by.
does everybody in the club have to pay that, or just the people that are involved in county competitions?
That's an interesting point,
No.
because it's everybody in the club that has
Everybody,
to pay.
whether they,
Yep.
regardless of whether they play county competitions or not.
Exactly, and only 20% of the male
The-
membership do it.
Right,
The previous
crikey.
season, club capitation fees, which was imposed on each club member, was £4.60. It was increased to £4.95, and George Coxwell has said he will increase it to £5.80. I will emphasise that he said that's what will happen. His quote to a fellow committee member was, "You will pay or don't play."
You heard that? Did you hear that?
I was told that from another committee member, yes.
You pay or you don't play.
Clubs will pay or they don't play.
Well, that's an option we could use, actually.
Well, we could set up our own. We could completely go rebellious and or revolutionary, should I say, and set up our own county competitions.
I think there are moves afoot.
I think that will be a whole new podcast. Well, it's happening with the ladies anyway.
These, of course, got to be a proposal and not something that George wants to implement. They have to be voted on at the AGM come September. That's up to the clubs whether they accept it or not.
Now I hear there's a lot of members leaving. Haven't we lost the one of the committee members?
We've lost Musa, who was a safeguarding officer, I understand.
Safeguarding officer.
And David, is it David?
David Butterworth, yeah.
He's died.
Well,
Is he not?
he'd stood down as the former treasurer and website administrator. Of course, sadly we've lost David.
That's very sad.
Since, yeah.
Who's taken on all these jobs that aren't vacancies that aren't filled? Then Can you tell us that?
I took on David's job as treasurer, and Gary Hitchen took on the website administrator's job. David was a long-serving member of the DCIBA for 13 years. He was a well-respected person, and he was treasurer and website administrator for those years.
But there's not the same people that haven't people taking on more than one job. now in order to fill the vacancies that are...
No, as far as I understand at the moment, George was competition secretary. He became county secretary, self-appointed. Although I guess he would have had to be voted in, but being as there was no opposition. And I understand now that having forced Gary Hitchin out as website administrator, he's taken on the role of website administrator as well.
Another £50 a month for him then?
Another £50 a month.
He's worth running away with.
Needs a secure code, take it home.
So yeah, he's receiving, in his plans, he wants to receive £800 as county secretary, and then he wants to receive a further, what is it?
£50 a month for
£50 a
website.
month, and as competition secretary, he would receive another 300. So he's on over £1,000
a year.
a year, which, to my mind, is totally wrong. When you consider that most committees in clubs are run on a voluntary basis,
Absolutely.
and they are there increasing their yearly allowance. To my mind, it was just totally wrong.
And you put this to the committee, and it was poo-pooed.
I put it to George Coxwell and emails to the committee, but the committee were told by George Coxwell to have no further communication with me.
And that's where the cyberbullying came in. But surely you're entitled to query decisions and speculation, or not speculation, but decisions and propositions that other committee members put forward. I mean, that's what committees are about, isn't it?
Yes, so I thought, but the fact that communication with me was banned, I could only put my point of view from emails directly to George Coxwell, and from which he has accused me of cyberbullying. And I was found guilty of cyberbullying by the committee.
But it's...
Yeah, but the makeup of that committee is there's an awful lot of...
The makeup of the committee contained... He was chairman of the Kingsley Indoor Bowling Club, and there were other members of the Kingsley Indoor Bowling Club that were on the Devon County Committee.
Three others?
There was...
There's four people on that one.
Yeah.
There was Chris Beer and his wife Jill.
Who did a good job.
Five members of the committee on at Kingsley.
I'm not sure that it was five. There was
four, isn't it?
There was
One,
George.
two.
There was George. There was Chris Beer and his wife Jill. And at that time,
Adam and Heidi.
David Butterworth had been a member of the Kingsley Bowling Club.
Now we only have a few minutes left, and the suitability of our county organisations is still under question here. Now, I just want to mention the Colts. Can you mention the Colts? We've only got a couple of minutes left. On
Right. When I took over as treasurer, and I was investigating really the accounts of the Devon Juniors and the Colts, and I discovered that no bank account was being held for the Devon Juniors or the Colts, that they were being financed by the vice presidents, and that money paid to them was going into the manager's personal account. And when I queried this, they said that if I furthered my investigation of it, they would resign. I contacted George Coxwell, the county secretary, and he told me to back off. He didn't want them to resign. So that was how it was left. But I still asked for an accounts of the Devon Juniors and the Colts, which wasn't in the accepted manner, really. It wasn't presented in the accepted manner.
Surely, if you've got a section like this in an organisation, should not the treasurer have a sort of like a side account, or just account for that in the main accounts? You just put that aside in the main accounts as the Colts funding and what they're using. It shouldn't go through a personal account, because people lay themselves wide open to abuse if it goes through a personal account. That's a bit naughty, really.
When I was in the position as treasurer for a short period of time, and it wasn't right, as you say, that money should be being paid into their personal account.
No.
So
but they didn't want to be part of the DCIBA. They relied on funding from the vice presidents,
which are part of the DCIBA,
who are now disbanded, and sponsorships and donations from different people. If I tried to change that, they would resign.
And that's a shame.
Didn't they resign anyway and wanted to, because of stress, and then came back for some reason?
Adam continually complained of Adam, who was the manager of the Colts, continually complained of stress and depression, and continuous years he was going to resign, and eventually when he did, for some reason they've had a change of heart and have accepted to do the job for a further 3 years, which has totally thrown me, really confused me. When I attempted to get a reason for that, he failed to reply, and he sent my email to George Coxwell, who then said it was coercive, that I was trying to influence them to stand down.
Now, you had one endorsement, didn't you, from somebody? You got the email there from Ian Turner?
Oh, yes. Which one was that one? Here we go.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Just read the part.
A former president, Mr. Ian Turner, was asked to have a conversation with me, and Mr. Turner stated that he had checked back over Mr. McKimm's emails and felt there was an element of truth in what Mr. McKimm had said. In Ian's opinion, mistakes had been made on both sides over the posting of competition results, and the committee should have acted earlier to rectify the situation. He felt the best course of action would be for one appointed person to speak with Mr. McKimm, and that expelling Mr. McKimm would be a mistake.
Have you been spoken to?
I've been in conversation with Ian, and he wanted to speak up with me if I appealed against the DCIBA's decision, he would speak on my behalf. But because I felt it was a kangaroo court, and that any appeal was going to be listened to by the committee that had already banned me, I felt there was little to be gained by it, so I didn't appeal. In fact, I was not informed of the hearing and of my right to appeal, although in a subsequent email, George Coxwell said I had been informed and that I had a right of appeal, which was another untruth on his part.
Right,
I had not been informed.
We've got to end it there, except to say there is some legal proceedings going on against one of the people who was dismissed, which we will tell you the result of. Yeah, we can't
talk about that at the moment.
We can't comment on that at the moment. And really, that's where we'll have to end it today, because we don't want this to go on forever. So thank you for listening, and we will talk to you again soon.
Just one thing though, guys, if you're watching this video, this podcast, either give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down, and please, please, please comment. We need some comments. Okay? Cheers, everybody. Well done. Thank you.
Right.